Hello students, welcome to the discussion of the MCQs on the pediatric cardiovascular system. I take the first question. The first question says, a child 4 months of age is admitted to the hospital with a 2-day history of mild coryza, tachypnea without significant intercostal recession. Child is feeding poorly for the last 2 weeks. There is a history that the child is not feeding well for the last 2 weeks. Which clinical features most supports are having congenital heart disease rather than the respiratory disease? Now, if you get such a question, you think worried, this I was not told how to basically deal with this question, but this is in the notes of every teacher. Only you need how to solve this type of the MCQs. Right. Now, first of all, the point what I take is there is tachypnea, but there is no significant intercostal recession. Always remember, if there is a disorder of respiratory system, not only there is tachypnea, there is also increased work of breathing. But if it is a cardiovascular system disease, there is tachypnea, but work of breathing is not that much influenced. So that can be not a significant point, but this you can remember like this. Now coming on to this question, whenever you study your notes, you all study the NADA's criteria. NADA's criteria. And the NADA's criteria, they tell you about the possibility of the heart disease, congenital heart disease in a child. There is the major criteria and there is the minor criteria. Now the major criteria says is systolic murmur more than or equal to grade 3, 1. Diastolic murmur any grade. Diastolic murmur any grade. Third is the congestive heart failure. And fourth is the cyanosis. Fourth is the cyanosis. In the minor criteria, there is systolic murmur less than grade 3. There is abnormal blood pressure. There is abnormal second heart sound. There is abnormal chest X-ray and there is abnormal ECG. And what you say is, if there is presence of one major or two minor criteria, that is suggestive of the presence of congenital heart disease. One major or two minor criteria. Now, I put this here. Right. The first says is choice number D says ejection systolic murmur grade 2/6. So it is a minor criteria and alone it is not sufficient. Alone it is not sufficient. So this rules out. Right. Sibling with a congenital heart disease. Yes, there can be increased incidence of congenital heart disease, but our question is how you will point out whether it is the tachypnea due to the congenital heart disease or due to the respiratory disease, right? So poor feeding, there can be multiple of reasons, and moreover, the poor feeding is for the last 2 weeks. Right. In there, if there is a congestive heart failure in an infant, that can present with poor feeding, but along with this certain other symptoms are there. Mother noticed there is increased sweating on forehead. That is because of the activation of sympathetic nervous system. Right. But if you see hepatomegaly, the surest sign of congestive heart failure in a infant is hepatomegaly. So this is a sign of congestive heart failure. This is a sign of congestive heart failure. And in this, if you see, presence of congestive heart failure alone is a single major criteria. So the most appropriate answer out of the choices given here is the hepatomegaly. That should be the right answer in the question number 1. Moving on to the question number 2. A 2-year-old boy comes for an ear infection. On listening to his chest, a heart murmur is heard. Which one of the following features most suggest that it requires further investigation? Right. Now again you get the same question, and again my answer is NADA's criteria. The same thing I will apply here also. Now if you see the major criteria, what it was, major criteria is systolic murmur more than or equal to grade 3, and a thrill means a murmur which is more than grade 3 definitely. So if something, a thrill is present, that should point out towards the heart disease, right? Disappearance of murmur on lying flat, systolic murmur, they have not specified any grades. Sinus arrhythmia is something which is normal also. So if you look at the choices, this again can be very well explained by the NIDA's criteria, and presence of the thrill means there is possibility of the further investigation. So the answer to the question number 2 is the choice number A. Question number 3. Shivam, who is 6 weeks old, is admitted directly from the cardiology clinic with heart failure, right? He has a large VSD. So if you see till now what we are saying, it is VSD with congestive heart failure. VSD with congestive heart failure. The cardiologist has recommended treatment with furosemide and spironolactone. His mother wants to know why he has only now started to have problems. That is the point. His mother wants to know why he has only now started to have problems. So we need to solve this question. In order to solve this question, I will need basically to explain you regarding the pulmonary vascular resistance. Now, if you see particularly in the fetus, what is happening is, if you consider the fetal heart like this, okay, this is the fetal heart, and in the fetal heart, let us suppose this is the aorta here, and let us suppose this is the pulmonary artery. In between the two, there is ductus arteriosus, and you all know in the fetal circulation, what is happening is blood is flowing from pulmonary artery to aorta. Blood is flowing from pulmonary artery to aorta. So what does it imply? In the fetal circulation, PVR is more than SVR. PVR is more than SVR, right? Pulmonary vascular resistance is more than systemic vascular resistance. Now at birth, when the child is born, child takes a breath. If the child takes a breath, the oxygen goes inside the lungs, and you all know oxygen is a pulmonary vasodilator. Oxygen dilates the pulmonary vessel. So if the pulmonary vessels are dilated, PVR decreases. This is the graph I have taken from the Park textbook of cardiology, pediatric cardiology, which shows particularly at birth there is decrease in the PVR. At birth there is decrease in the PVR, right? Now we consider there is a case of large VSD. There is a case of large VSD. Now this is the case, and I take here like this, okay, let us suppose this is the aorta which is here, right? And this is the pulmonary artery, right? And there is presence of VSD. If a large VSD is present, the pressure is transmitted from the left ventricle to right ventricle. Pressure is transmitted from the left ventricle to right ventricle, which is transmitted to the pulmonary artery. So there is delay in the fall of pulmonary vascular resistance. So there is delay in the fall of pulmonary vascular resistance. So what it means is pulmonary vascular resistance, which should decrease at birth, takes time, and it may decrease over 6 to 8 weeks. It may decrease over 6 to 8 weeks. And when the PVR will decrease, what will happen to the pressure on the right side? That will decrease, and more blood will be pumped from left to the right side, right? And in order to maintain cardiac output, activation of sympathetic nervous system, which will cause increased sweating on the forehead. That is the feature where one of the complaint mother gives in the congestive heart failure in an infant, and the congestive heart failure will be manifested by hepatomegaly. So in a case of large VSD, try to understand there is a delay in the fall of PVR, right? So that is the same thing which has happened here. The child had VSD, child had congestive heart failure, but there is delay in a fall, and that pulmonary vascular resistance falls after birth, and now flow from left to right across the septal is much greater. That is how you are going to explain to the mother. Okay, this is the right answer for this question. Pulmonary vascular resistance falls after birth and now left to right across the septal defect is greater. So it is due to the decrease in the PVR. Right, one of the very common question examiner asks, when is congestive heart failure seen in the case of large VST? Moving on to the question number 4. A 32-week gestation preterm child weighing 1100 gram had murmur on the day 3 of life. Murmur intensity is maximum at the left sternal edge. Murmur is continuous at the left infraclavicular area. Most appropriate further action would be. Right? Now, when you say a continuous murmur, a preterm child, both of them points out towards the patent ductus arteriosus. So both of them points out towards the patent ductus arteriosus. Right? So if I consider the patent ductus arteriosus, let us suppose I consider this is the heart I have drawn here like this. This is the aorta which is here. This is the pulmonary artery, and in between the two there is ductus arteriosus, right? And the blood is flowing from aorta to pulmonary artery, and that is producing a continuous murmur. So if you see in your body, aorta is like this. This is the pulmonary artery. So here there is ductus arteriosus. So normally you hear a continuous murmur either at the upper left sternal border or in the left infraclavicular area. So this becomes a case of patent ductus arteriosus. Right. Now going on to the questions. Performing an electrocardiogram. Instead of electrocardiogram, it should be echocardiogram. That will suggest you, that will be the making you the diagnosis. Monitor postductal saturation. Why postductal? Because the blood is going from here to here. So if you measure postductal saturation from here, that is not going to change because there is no mixing of the deoxygenated blood. Start aspirin. Although aspirin is basically, you all know, cyclooxygenase inhibitor, but it is not given in the children particularly for the closure of ductus. Either you are giving ibuprofen or you are giving indomethacin, and the paracetamol is also now used. Then what is left? Measure the systolic and diastolic blood pressure. That is the most appropriate answer here. Why? Because in a case of PDA, there is wide pulse pressure. In a case of PDA, there is the wide pulse pressure. So you have to choose the most appropriate answer what has been given, and the best answer here is you should measure the systolic and the diastolic blood pressure as there is the wide pulse pressure. Question number 5. All are the recognized features of ASD except. That is being said is, so in the ASD you all know the most common type is the ostium secundum type. Ostium secundum type, where the defect is in the region of fossa ovalis. Where the defect is in the region of fossa ovalis. Right? So if I basically draw it like this, let us suppose this is the ASD present, and here this is the aorta which is present, and here this is the pulmonary artery, and in between the two there is ductus arteriosus. Right? Now first we say diastolic murmur at the right third intercostal space. Now try to understand. The blood is flowing from left atria to right atria. It is like this. From the right atria to the right ventricle. From the right atria to the right ventricle. Right? So if the blood is flowing from right atria to right ventricle is having more blood, which right atria will be having more blood, which will go to right ventricle across the normal tricuspid valve. So if the valve is normal, blood flow is more, this becomes relative stenosis. Right? You will get the same murmur which is heard in the actual tricuspid stenosis only if the pulmonary blood flow is double the amount of systemic blood flow. Relative stenosis murmur will be heard if QP ratio QS is more than or equal to 2. So what will be seen is a murmur of the tricuspid stenosis, This is not due to actual damage to tricuspid valve, but it is due to the relative tricuspid stenosis. So there can be a diastolic murmur at the right third intercostal space, right? So this is this. Eisenmenger syndrome can follow untreated ASD. Of course, ASD if not treated, finally what will happen one day, there will be pulmonary hypertension and the shunt instead of left to right will be right to left. So this can very be true, right? Then the next thing is, in ostium secundum type, prophylaxis for infective endocarditis is not required. Absolutely true. The blood going from left atria to right atria, there is no significant pressure difference. So as such, there is no chances of damage to endocardium. So this is also true that the prophylaxis is not required. It can manifest with congestive heart failure in infancy. No. It usually manifests with congestive heart failure in adults. It usually manifests with the congestive heart failures in adults. So out of the choices given, the right answer is the choice number D in these things, right? So thank you all for watching, and we will be meeting you soon in the next series of the cardiovascular system part 2. Thank you so much.